What's up guys, Truman here, welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to see if I can trigger as many people as I can by talking about how Hitler finally caused me to quit What's up guys, Truman here, welcome back to... Ow, my ass. What's up guys, Truman here, welcome back to another video. So, I have not been on Facebook for 3 months and I feel great. I tell you, I feel so much better. I've seen major changes not only in my own worldview but in my own self-esteem and all sorts of mental changes. Let me just first of all start off by saying I loved Facebook. I was one of the original people who started to post loads of funny photos on Facebook. This was back in the early 2000s. I loved it. I got loads of comments, likes. I got to know other people, but little did I know that that was the beginning of the end of a disconnect from a relationship, not only with myself, but also from other people. Let me just preface this by saying, again, Facebook is a great tool. It is great for bringing people together. It helps people stay organized and, stay attached. It helps people keep their finger on the social pulse, so to say, which is why it was so difficult for me to actually quit in the end. Originally, I was one of the people, like I said, I would come home, and this is, bear in mind, in the early days of Facebook, I would come home and there would be about 40, 50, 60, 70 likes and just notifications on my channel. Now, in the early days of Facebook, this was relatively unheard of unless you were popular or unless you did something very, very well. So I was one of those people that I did something very, very good. And if I had any sort of tech sense, I would have really taken that, to the next level and, invented TikTok or something like that. I was posting loads of funny photos that I found online from different sites and all sorts of other stuff. So I was coming home and I was getting 40, 50, 60 likes and I was loving it. Like, my ego loved it. It loved all the different validation that it was getting. And I loved, coming home and hearing what people saying, and the hot girl from, Samantha from that hot blonde from class is, liked my video, and she's got all of her friends to like the video as well. And it's like, holy crap, you could feel your heart going. I look forward at the end of every day, this was back in my teens, to coming home and loading up Facebook and being like, oh wow, look at all the different likes and, this, that, and the other, and it's amazing. So what I didn't realize what was happening is that my brain was being slowly socially conditioned to look forward to social cues and validation that it was not getting from real life, but instead getting through the screen. So although I wasn't receiving the same sort of likes and dislikes from my normal life, they weren't actually going up to me and saying, oh yeah, that was great, apart from occasion they'd say, oh that was a funny photo, or haven't uploaded it. But I'd get like tons of likes from Craig from the next year, who I didn't even talk to, but it doesn't matter because it means that I'm popular and that's cool. So I started to get overly obsessed with likes and dislikes, and I think this is how Facebook really gets its hooks into you, is that if it can get you emotionally invested in that little notification, that's it. You are an addict. And I tell you, I was addicted like any sort of addict. Like whenever I would get a notification, I'd get that little bit of dopamine that I'm like, oh, a notification. Oh, look at this, look at that. I just couldn't wait to see if that hot girl that I was really interested in, or that asshole had replied in my comment. And I was getting so emotionally invested at such a young age that I didn't realize that it was really one of the causes for why I started to develop really serious social anxiety. I started to, and I'm actually still feeling the effects of it, I started to care too much about what other people thought of me. And I used to think that it was something that I got from just my upbringing, but as I really started to think about it, and as I look at my old Facebook history, because Facebook allows you to archive, so I have all my old messages, all my old photos, I downloaded everything to my computer, so I haven't lost anything, but I've deleted it so I can never get it back. But going through it, I realized just how much I was emotionally invested in what other people were saying and what other people were thinking. And don't worry, I will get to Hitler later on because it is a really hilarious story. This started to really crumble and set up a dichotomy in me when I was going through, the more turbulent times of my teens, when I was trying to find some sort of purpose or meaning to my life. And I was still sort of on the whole Facebook personal gratification thing, and I was starting to notice that Facebook was becoming more and more trivial. I got really, really tired of the fact that people just weren't talking about anything. Like, how many times can you scroll down and see pictures of people, pictures of people's food? Like, I tell you, it is a pet peeve of mine. I hate people who take selfies, and I hate people who take photos of their food. And I think I've never hated them more than when I've gotten off of Facebook and I still see people doing it. And I'm just like, maybe I hate it because I can't sit there and post and comment and say how yummy that looks. Or maybe it's because I haven't eaten in about 25 days because I'm currently on a juice fast. Check out my other health channel if you want to see more, on that. But anyway, I have lots of pet peeves about Facebook, and it was only starting to develop then. But the problem is that but they're my friends, and I shouldn't. If I say bad things to them, then I won't get the validation. Obviously, I wasn't telling myself that, but that was what was going on in the back of my head. Like, I don't want to say bad things because I've got all these likes, and I'm liking the fact that everyone's liking my photos. It was like developing, Instagram cam thought syndrome. Like, it's like, oh my god, all this personal gratification is totally warping my behavior, but it doesn't matter because it's like on tap. So after a while I started to say, like, okay, I'm tired of people's cat photos, I'm tired of people, posting, boring, meaningless stuff. I'm gonna start posting interesting stuff. So I started to write more interesting posts, and I started to try and post stuff about how, 10 really interesting scientific facts, stuff like that. And immediately I noticed that no one gave a crap. No one gave a crap. Until I posted a funny video about, watch this corgi fall asleep and then fart itself awake. And all of a sudden, like 50, 60, 70 likes again. So all of a sudden, my brain was being programmed because I could feel the dopamine rush. I was being almost encouraged to post trivial, meaningless BS. And then the moment it came to posting about stuff that was meaningful, you would always get a small core of people who would post on it. But then again, it was like 4 or 5 likes. But I know it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it means something to you. But the thing is that when you're in that sort of personal gratification thing, to you it matters. So it's like a fight. It's like I was fighting the triviality, but I was also fighting the need for sort of personal validation. It's like I need that validation, So back then, I wasn't the most emotionally secure, kid, back in the day. Even though I seemed pretty fine to outsiders, but what I didn't realize is that I was a burning cauldron of insecurity, like most people are, until they grow up and realize that they are. But even so, and there are other things that annoy me about Facebook as well, and I'm sure that a few people can also empathize with this too. It's that people use it as a way of just getting attention, but they're not really doing anything about it. For example, there was one lady, let's call her Samantha again, or Jill is an easier name. Jill would post about her mental health, and she'd post about how she's struggling with all this other stuff, and she's got all sorts of mental health issues, which she did. My heart goes out to her. She's doing all this stuff. The only problem is she'd post about it every single day. Almost every day. It was a long, and I'm talking about like sentences worth of posts about how, oh, my dad's this, and oh, I can't believe this, and oh, my doctor says this, and oh, I'm struggling to get through. And you see the normal, oh, you go girl, you go girl, you go girl, you can do this, you be strong, we're all here for you every single day. And obviously I would join in, occasionally, until eventually I was like, you know what is she actually doing about this? Because around about that time I was going through a lot of personal development myself, and back then had really, really bad depression, something that I actually reversed later on. And I was starting to get into it, and I was trying to show her some tips and tricks about how diet can play an effect on this, and and I was noticing about how she'd post about how, oh, I'm the mentioner, I love Ben and Jerry's, oh, I'm loving ice cream. And so I basically contacted her and said, hey, I've done some research about depression, maybe you should not, take all this stuff, and, maybe you should instead, start eating healthily. Here's some research, here's some stuff, and here's what's helped me. And I really did try and help her. But what happened, a week later, I checked up with her, and I gave her all this research, and I talked to her and said, what do you think, basically? And she was like, yeah, well, it's alright, it's okay, I haven't really done much with it. And I was like, okay. And so I went back onto her Facebook page, and since I'd given her all the information, she'd made several help me, I am in pain posts. And I just looked at that and I said, like, look, are you actually going to do something with this? And she's like, oh, don't pressure me, I'm trying this. And so I was like, okay, fine, leave it alone. Like 3 weeks later, I messaged her again, like, and it's just the same crap she gave me again. Actually, she tried to make me out as if I was the villain, and I learned a very important lesson. Then is that some people, well, actually back then I didn't actually force it. This is how you help someone. You leave the information at their doorstep. If they want to bring it into their house, that's up to them. But you do not, under any circumstances, break into the house and shove it down their throat. You can be put in emotional jail for that. It is not a good idea. It is not moral. It is not a good idea. You cannot help people who do not want to help themselves. But still, it was like she was only ever going on and complaining about her issues just for the whole validation of it. And she didn't actually want to fix it because she was still getting that sort of validation. Now, this is a very important thing because people need that sort of validation. Like, one of my constant worries on YouTube is the fact that maybe people aren't understanding me. Maybe what I'm saying isn't going to be understood, which is why this video, I've had like quite a few outtakes, and a lot of that is just because I need some time to warm up. But people need that general sense of understanding, and Facebook is great for doing that. The only problem is, and this is where I'll get into the whole Hitler story. The only problem is that it creates an echo chamber that became so loud I could not take it anymore. So I continued on my whole anti-trivialization, let's post about some more interesting topics and, you know, stuff like that. And I got into a few more controversial topics. Now, I'm not going to sit here and debate who's right, who's wrong, this, that, and the other. I'm a very empirical person. I had to be, because I had to look at my life rationally, empirically, because I was going through a lot of shit back then, and I was close to suicide, and I had to look at the facts, and I was going into nutrition, so opinions and feelings I did not care about. So I was just, you know, going on, you know, posting stuff about certain controversial topics, and I started to notice something very interesting, is that people, and specifically Facebook, when the more people didn't like my stuff, the less people could see it. And what I mean to say by that was that after a while, I started to notice that Facebook was deliberately not showing my posts to certain people. It was only showing my posts to people, and call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever, it was only showing my posts to people who would disagree with my opinions. And this was when I was talking about, you know, the war, and, you know, a bit of stuff about 9/11 because the towers pancaking instead of, you know, all sorts of other stuff. And it's like, again, this is not a debate. But what I noticed was that just how vile and, you know, snappy people could be when you would challenge their own worldview. And let's not even go into 9/11, okay? Let's just talk about, you know, health stuff. You know, you would talk about, you know, get into a debate about how what diet is best, or, you know, here's some research. People would go, oh no, oh, that's stupid, that's silly, that's stupid. And then the moment you give them some sort of advice or some sort of empirical evidence, they'd run away. It pisses me off just how full of opinions people are on Facebook, right? They are full of opinions on Facebook. The only problem is, the moment you question them about the opinion, they run away scared. Like, I don't have time for this. Oh, I'm tired, I'm too tired. It's like, how can you hold a massive placard that basically, because whenever people are posting about all the stuff, all they're really saying is how moral I am. Oh, look at these save the toenail fungus charity, whatever the hell it is next. I'm so moral. And then the moment you talk about stuff like, you know, embezzlement or some charities not being fair, they no, I don't have time for that discussion. Oh, it's too much it's just your own. It's like, look, if you want to get into a debate with someone, start, you know, actually get into a debate with them, actually have some facts. But don't start off pretending to be opinionated, and then the moment someone picks apart your theory, basically run away like, oh, I can't handle this. And I started to notice this, and it started to really, really, really bother me, because again, I am someone who, if you give me the facts and the evidence, I will say, okay, whatever, I understand, and then let's just move on. You know, let's move on. Or, okay, I am wrong. I had no problem admitting that I am wrong. If you can show me the evidence, you can show me that. But what I was noticing is that people were getting into these political echo chambers that were becoming extremely nasty, to the point where they were just outright yelling and calling names and hurling abuse at anyone who didn't actually agree with them, yet they had zero ability to actually back up their own arguments. And that is where the whole thing started to come crashing down, because I think this was the final nail. I realized this, and I started to try and quit. Like most sane people, I started to try and quit. And what happened was incredible. And that was when, quite frankly, one of the hardest points and most emotionally turbulent parts of my younger life really did begin. And also where I get into the whole Hitler story, which actually broke me out of it. But instead, I've got to close this. Sorry guys, I actually got to go. I didn't realize how long I'd been talking. I'm going to make this into a two-part video, so if you want to hear about what it was like quitting, or if you want to hear about the hilarious Hitler story, stay tuned. The next video will be coming out. I'm going to record it later on tonight, but I'll probably put it out tomorrow or the day after. Subscribe to the channel if you liked it. I have a health channel. Subscribe to that in the bottom if you want to hear about my juice fast, you know, stuff like that. And yeah, I'll see you all later. Freeman out, and peace.